Welcome back. So in the last session, we have discussed about various IDs. What are the IDs present? And we have a first intro to the IDLE, and we have done a simple Python code using IDLE, simple arithmetic operations. In this session, we'll explore about another famous IDE that is called as Jupyter Notebook. And from now on, guys, we will be using Jupyter Notebook a lot. First, let us understand what exactly is Jupyter Notebook. Okay. So we are trying to learn about Jupyter Notebook. Okay, we are learning about Jupyter Notebook right now. So what exactly is Jupyter Notebook and why it is so famous? So basically, Jupyter Notebook is a web-based IDE, guys. It's a web-based IDE. Okay, what is meant by web-based IDE first? So what is meant by web-based IDE in the sense? See, whatever IDEs you have right now, whatever IDEs we have discussed about in the last session, that is PyCharm, VS Code, the list of IDs which we talked. All those IDs are our desktop applications. When I say desktop applications, they are installed in your system and you can launch in your desktop itself, right? For example, if you talk about IDLE is a desktop application. Or if you talk about PyCharm is a desktop application. So all these are desktop applications. But Jupyter Notebook is a web-based IDE. So what is the differences? Jupyter Notebook is actually a website. Web-based IDE in the sense it's a website. It's basically a website. Okay. So what is meant by website? So what happens here is in Jupyter Notebook, whenever you launch Jupyter Notebook, it will host a local server here in your system, and it will open the Jupyter Notebook in a browser. So it's locally hosting a server and opening in the browser as a website. So whatever ID or whatever code you'll be writing in a browser in a Jupyter Notebook. Okay, that is the reason we call it as a web-based ID. Second, the next important point is in Jupyter Notebook, your files basically are called as notebooks, and those will be in the extension of .ipynb. So what is meant by .ipynb? What is meant by .ipynb means it is interactive. Okay, this interactive is very important. Python, obviously Python notebook. So as I told you already, the Python files will be in the form of notebooks only. So it is interactive Python notebook. Okay, so what is meant by interactive Python notebook means, see this word, the main word here is interactive. So we already learned about interactive, the word interactive, and in the last session we have seen how your Python was interactive in the shell. We were trying to ask some questions and it was able to immediately give the answers. The same kind of interactive nature can be also possible in Jupyter Notebook, and the advantage of Jupyter Notebook is the whatever you're interacting with Python, the same thing can be saved also. See, in the last class when we were discussing about IDLE, either we were interactive in nature or we were trying to write in a script and execute it. But whatever we have interacted with Python in the IDLE, that were not saved. For example, if I open the IDLE and if I interact something, I mean, if I do some kind of codes here in the shell, that will be not saved. For example, if I say 2 plus 3 or 5 plus 3, something like that, this data, whatever code we have written here right now, that will be not saved. But the advantage in Jupyter Notebook is you can both interactive and you can also write it as a script. Means whatever you are writing, it will be interactive in nature and it will be also saved. That is the advantage of Jupyter Notebook, and that is the reason why a lot of developers, for practice purpose and for getting the instant results, they'll be using Jupyter Notebook. Okay, and don't worry, even though it is in the .ipynb format, we can immediately convert into .py with a single click. So once you can write in a .ipynb format, immediately with a single click you can convert in .py. So there is not a problem. Okay. So this is regarding your Jupyter Notebook. Now let's try to launch Jupyter Notebook and do some hands-on with Jupyter Notebook and try to implement some Python codes in Jupyter Notebook. So how can you do that? There are two ways of launching Jupyter Notebook, guys. One is through Anaconda prompt, and other is through Anaconda Navigator, or through command prompt and navigator. So first, if you just open the navigator, this is how you have launched your navigator already. So this is how navigator looks. So here you can see something called a Jupyter notebook here in this place. So either you can just click on this particular launch button. Okay, you can just click on this particular launch button and to launch a Jupyter notebook. Either you can do launch here, but I don't recommend in this way, because whenever the moment you start launching it, it'll first launch from the default folder. That is first reason. But I don't want to launch my Jupyter notebook from default folder. I'll tell you why. And second reason is it'll take a lot of time to launch from Anaconda Navigator, because first thing, it will take a lot of time to open Anaconda Navigator, and again it will take a lot of time to launch. So I don't want to spend that much time in launching Jupyter notebook. So this is not a I don't recommend this way of launching Jupyter notebook, but I'm just showing you this is one of the way we can launch. And the other way is to launch from terminal. I would recommend that way. So how do you launch it? Means you can just open your command prompt. Okay, you can just open your command prompt, and you can say it as the command to launch a Jupyter notebook is Jupyter space notebook. As simple as that. Okay, the command is Jupyter space notebook. So if you write this command in the terminal, it will automatically launch your Jupyter notebook. Okay, let's try that. Okay, so I'll just say Jupyter space notebook. Okay, and the moment you enter this command, automatically it will host a local server in your system, and it will open your Jupyter notebook in a browser. So you can see automatically it opened your Jupyter notebook in your browser, in a default browser. My default browser is Google Chrome, so it automatically opens there. And you can see here, if we just open the terminal again, you can see that it has done a local host, locally as hosted a server with a port of 8888. Right? This is how it works. And the moment you open Jupyter notebook, you can see your entire file system in your folder. So right now I've launched your Jupyter notebook from this particular folder. This was my folder which I've launched from. That is the reason you can see all the file systems, whatever we have in this particular folder. These are all of the files present in my folder right now. But I don't want to save my files or use my files in this folder, right? I don't want to use this folder. Then how to launch Jupyter notebook from specific folder? Means right now it is launched from the default folder the moment I open my command prompt. How to launch from the specific folder? It's very simple. First, to stop a Jupyter notebook, just close this and do Control C here. If you just say Control C, it will just stop your Jupyter notebook. Okay, it has stopped. Now I want to launch Jupyter notebook from my folder which I want to use daily for my codes and everything. So I yesterday, if you remember, I've already created a folder, right, called as Python in data science folder. So this same folder I'll be using right now. So I have to go to D colon D drive and CD data science. Okay, and CD Python. So this is how I'll be launching Jupyter notebook always. Because if I launch from this particular folder, now I'll enter Jupyter notebook from in this particular folder. By using Jupyter notebook from this particular folder, what happens is I no need to worry about saving the files in separate folder. So automatically, whenever you create your files in Jupyter, all those files will be saved in this particular folder only. So don't worry about that. Okay. So you can simply say again the command Jupyter space notebook, and I'll launch it. Okay. So it is getting launched. Let's wait. Yeah, cool. It has launched, right? So now you can see right now the file system changed, and you can see the code which you have written yesterday, that is first code.py, this particular code. And along with that, you can see the entire file system here, right? You can see the all file systems here. This is how the Jupyter notebook works. So in the very first phase, you can see the files, all your files, whatever present in your folder. And if you just go to running tab, you can see your any kind of terminals or any kind of codes are running right now. So there's no terminals or code running. I'll come back to files again. So in this way, you have to launch a Jupyter notebook. Cool. Now, one more option is, right now we have launched Jupyter notebook by going to that particular folder, right? By opening command prompt for the particular folder. I'll show one more easiest way. So first, for that, I'll just close my terminal, and also I'll close my Jupyter here. I'll show the one more easiest way of launching Jupyter notebook. So again, just go to the folder, go to your folder system, go to the D drive wherever your folder is present, whichever drive, whichever place your folder is present, go to that particular folder first. Okay, my file is present, my folder is this one, .ipy, I mean Python. Here in this address bar, type cmd, okay, command prompt, cmd. Immediately you will be getting a command prompt and automatically it will open from your that particular folder. So the advantage of this one is you don't need to worry about changing a directory or going to that particular directory always. Immediately you can go to that particular folder, type cmd, and automatically it opens. And here you can just again say Jupyter space notebook. Okay, so it's your flexibility, whichever way is flexible for you, you can use that particular way for launching Jupyter notebook. Okay, so once you have launched a Jupyter notebook, yeah, so now you can see this same interface. Now let's start doing some kind of codes. If you just open this first code.py, it will open in text editor. But however, I told you already that Jupyter notebook will not deal with .py files. Jupyter notebook will not deal with .py files. It will only deal with .ipynb files. So whatever files you create in Jupyter notebook will be in the form of .ipynb. Let's see how can you create that. So for that, I'll just go back to my file system again, and here on top right corner you can find something called as new, right? You can just simply say new and you can just say Python 3. Okay, apart from you can create a new Python notebook here, or you can create text file, folder and terminal, but we want to create a Python notebook, so you can just say new and Python 3. The moment you say Python 3, a empty notebook will be launched for us in a new tab. Okay, it's launching. Cool, it has launched. Yeah, this is how the empty notebook looks. Now I should talk about this. Let me talk about this interface first, and then I'll further proceed using this. Okay, first thing, the automatically guys, your file named is named as untitled.ipm and ipynb it will be. So you can see all your various options you have here, like file, if you want to work with files. So if I just open this files, you can see if you want to create a new notebook here, you can do that. Or if you want to open, if you want to make a copy of this, save as, all these kinds of file based operations you can see. And I told you, right, you can convert your ipynb into .py with a single click. You can do it here. So you can just go to download as. You can download as an ASCII doc or a HTML, lex file, MD file, ipynb, or here you can see .py. So if you just go to download and just click on .py, your entire ipynb file will be converted into .py file. So no need to worry about again conversion and all those things. So it's very simple. And you also have some kind of editing operations here. We'll talk about this. You have some view operations, insert operations, all these operations you have. But before that, here you can see this one, right? You can see this particular yeah, you can see this, right? This is basically called as a cell. Okay, this is basically called as, in general we call it as a cell. What is cell? Cell is where you can actually write your code. Okay, here itself you'll be writing your code and you'll be executing all your codes, whatever, I mean, in the cell only you'll try to execute all your codes. Let's see how can you do that. First, yeah, let me write some random codes and show you how can you execute these codes and how can you work on these codes. But before that, if you want to add a new cell, you can use this insert below, but you also have some kind of shortcuts for that. I'll also tell you about the shortcuts, but let's start writing some code here. So let's start writing some code, whatever we have used yesterday, that is maybe 2 plus 3. Okay, simple arithmetic operations. Now I've written one code. I want to execute this code. How do you execute this code? Either here we have an option called as run, you can click on that, or the shortcut for that is shift plus enter. Okay, you can note down the shortcuts, or you can just remember this whenever you need it, you can use that. Okay, so the shortcut is shift plus enter. Okay, so by using this particular shortcut, you can execute this particular code. So you can simply say shift enter. Yes, cool, I got the output. So you can see here it is interactive, means you can see you're getting the output here. You're able to get your output when the moment you say shift plus enter, you're able to get the output. And also whatever you've written, it will be saved in the file called as untitled.ipynb. No sir, I don't want to make it untitled.ipynb. You can change this file name. So you can just click on this and make it as maybe Python basics. Okay, I'll just make it as a Python basics file. So you can see you can automatically it has transformed as Python basics. Now you can see it will be Python basics.ipynb. You can see here now whatever code you have written, that particular code will be saved in a variable in a function called as Python basics dot ipynb, and also it is interactive, means immediately you're getting the result. That is the advantage of ipynb notebook, Jupyter notebook. Okay, so 2 plus 3 you got 5. Shift plus enter you have written. Shift plus enter for what? So shift plus enter, what it does is it will actually execute the current cell, and if the cell is not present right now, if this okay right now, if you just see here, the next cell is not present, right? So if the cell is not present, it will create a new cell for us. You can see it is creating a new cell for us, and your cursor is going to the next cell. By chance, if the cell is already present, and if I click on shift enter, it will not go, it will not create a new cell, but it will go to the next cell. The cursor will go to the next cell. I repeat once again, the moment you enter shift, the moment you say shift enter, if the cell is not present, okay, if this cell is not present, it will create a new cell for us. Yes, you can see it is creating. If the cell is already present, it is, your cursor is going to that particular cell. That is how shift enter works. For example, if you want to create a cell even though the cell is present, then you have to use something called as alt enter. Okay, alt enter also will execute the current cell. Okay, alt enter also will execute the current cell, and it will go to the next cell, or it will create a next cell even though cell is present. Okay, so that is how alt enter works. One more shortcut, alt enter. Alt enter we have alt plus enter. Next, apart from alt enter, you also have control enter. Control enter, what happens is it neither go to the next cell or create a new cell, next cell, or create a new cell. It will stay in the current cell only. Let me show you alt enter. I actually have entered shift enter. So now what alt control enter does is, now I'll just say control enter, you can see. So it is present in the same cell only. Okay, it is present in the same cell, but it is executing the cell. That's it. That is what control enter is. Let me show you. Now I'll just say 5 plus 10 and control enter. You can see it is not even going to the next cell. Okay, it is not even, okay, let me, okay, 10 plus 20. Now you will be having a clarity. Yes, you can see it is not going to the next cell. It is not even creating a new cell. So in the same cell, it is staying and executing the current cell. That is what control enter is. Okay, this is a shortcut for executing cells. Control plus enter. So these are all three things you can use in a different ways to execute your cells, means to run your cells. Okay, perfect, to get the output. Perfect. Now, apart from this, if you want to add cells without executing, and if you want to remove cells, we have some shortcuts. Let's talk about that. For example, if you want to add cells, add a cell below this without executing the current cell, the shortcut is escape plus A. If you do escape plus A, it will add a cell before the cell. Before the current cell, it will add a cell. You can see before the current cell, it is adding a cell. Okay. So we have a shortcut called as what? Escape plus A. Okay. Escape plus A, it will before the cell, it will add cell before the cell. Okay. We also have escape plus B. It will add a cell after the cell. Okay. For example, if I say here in the same, I'll come back to I'll put my cursor in the same cell here, and I'll just say escape plus B. You can see it is adding a cell after the cell. In the same way, if you want to remove the current cell or cut the current cell, escape plus X. Okay. Escape plus X. Cut. Okay. Cut this cell. So like this, we have few shortcuts which we use in a regular basis for our operations. So if you want to get all the shortcuts, you can just go to L, and you can just search for, or you can find keyboard shortcuts here. You can see all the various shortcuts present. You can use it for your regular basis. You can just have a look at this. But I just talked about few shortcuts which will be helping us in this one, in our regular coding. Okay. So this is regarding a simple introduction to Jupyter Notebook, guys. One more thing is, actually in Jupyter Notebook you can also create headings. It's one more important thing to make our notebook more better way. So how do you create headings? It's very simple. For example, I have Python basics. I want to make this as an heading. I mean, a kind of a text based. Okay. So how do you do that? Is very simple. You can simply say escape plus 1. If you make escape plus 1, it will be Heading 1 means with a higher uh, text and with higher bold. We have heading 2 also, escape plus 2 for heading 2, somewhat lower font and lower text size. Escape plus 3, heading 3. Escape plus 4, heading 4. Escape plus 5, we have escape plus 5, heading 5. Escape plus 6, heading 6. So here we have up to 6 only, no after 6. So it is like this. The shortcut is something like this. It is escape plus 1, escape plus 2, so on up to 6. You have up to 6. Okay. So up to 1 to 6 you can go depending upon the size you want. Okay. So this is how you can actually create an heading to avoid, to make some kind of headings and all those things in Python. Okay. So this is regarding a simple introduction to Python, simple introduction to Jupyter Notebook. Once we start implementing some basic things and all those things, some more things we'll be learning about Jupyter Notebook. Okay. Thank you guys.